Hello and welcome to Let's Train Nunchaku. So in this series, we're going to be learning WNA style, or the World Nunchaku Association style Nunchaku. So before we get started, you can do this with most nunchucks, but I highly recommend that you actually get a pair of the official WNA chucks. They are different than most other ones, and I guarantee they're different than the foam ones that everyone sells everywhere, because I have a bunch of pairs of those, and these are made for sparring. And if you are sparring, or if you continue going through this course, you're going to want a pair of these. They make the techniques that we're doing significantly easier. So I highly suggest investing in a pair of these. They're not very expensive. Go ahead and pick up a white pair of these to get started. And yeah, like I said, it's a different type of material. It feels different. It's going to make a huge difference whenever you're actually training this style. All right, with that being said, I'm going to give you a brief introductory on what WNA style nunchaku-do is. It has four components, or four main components, which are going to be kumite, or sparring, kata, which is forms, freestyle, which is just doing a bunch of tricks and stuff, and then jutsu, which is the self-defense aspect of this. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get started. The first thing I'm going to show you is going to be 2 out of the 5 basic stances. The first basic stance is our attention stance, or what I will refer to as an attention stance. This is basic stance number 1. We're going to hold the chucks in our right hand. We're going to have knife hand on our other side, and then our feet are going to be together, standing straight up, just like this. If you've done my Taekwondo courses, you know this is an attention stance. And then our next one is going to be our open ready stance. So I call it open ready stance because the chucks are going to be open, and then we're going to be presenting them out in front of us. I like to have the tip of the chuck close to my shoulder level as I'm holding this out. I'm not way out here with this. It's nice in and relaxed, just like this. Feet are about shoulder width apart. So this is going to be our open ready stance, or our basic stance number 2. So attention stance, and then our open ready stance. Attention stance, open ready. These are just positions that you'll go to, and then you'll start doing other things, right? Attention, open ready, attention, open ready. And now make sure that you are practicing these along with me, especially when we actually get to the moves, which we're going to start now. So the next thing is going to be gripping. So gripping looks like this. Now this is a very important skill, just to be able to practice catching the chucks, right? So there's going to be a lot of time where you're going and you're doing something and the chuck just bounces out of your hand. This skill helps you to be able to gain positive control over the chucks whenever you're doing a catch, a switch, or any type of movement where your hand needs to go from not having a chuck in it to having a chuck in it. Right? So that's one of the reasons why we practice this. There's also going to be a skill requirement in order to test for the next levels if that's something that you're interested in doing. So when we're gripping, we're going to start with one directly over the top of the other one, just like this. We're going to let go of the bottom one, and we're going to swoop this down, right? So we're making this kind of a circular motion, and we're going to flick it so that that bottom one now becomes the top one. And then I drop this one, and as that momentum is going, I'm going to go down, push forward, and swoop it up, just like that. Now, since we have the black, right, because you're using the official chucks, we're going to be catching it always in the black. There will be times when we'll do what I call a high grip, and this is going to be a low grip. This is going to be the most common grip that you're going to be using for just about everything other than freestyle. Freestyle, you'll start using the low grip for, you know, some of these spins and tosses and things like that. But other than that, you're going to be in this long grip, catching it in the black. So I want you to always try to catch it in the black. So back to gripping, right here, just like this. And now you're going to hit yourself. Sometimes you'll hit yourself in the chest. Sometimes you'll try to go really fast and it'll just kind of pop out and fall out of your hands. And then just a general thing with nunchucks is this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. It's okay. The rule is, if you ever drop the chucks and you make a mistake, you can't end on that mistake, right? So if I'm gripping and I drop it, well, I can't just give up and walk inside. I have to pick it up, and then I have to do it again. All right, Now I can set it down, and now I can end my training session or whatever. But we never want to end on that failure. You're gonna have failure, you're gonna have frustration. It's going to happen. You just can't give up with it. You have to continue pushing through until you get the technique. Now, obviously, if you injure yourself, you shouldn't injure yourself with these foam. These are made specifically to not injure yourself, so you can fight and not injure yourself. So, but if you do injure yourself, go take care of yourself first, obviously. All right, so back to gripping. Let's go ahead and continue practicing. Hopefully you were practicing the whole time that I was talking, right? Yeah, all right. And now, when I'm doing this, I have this little bit of a, I'm gonna go here. I press up with my index finger and I press down with my thumb, and that adds a little bit of a flick to it, right? So I'm not gonna, I can keep my hand completely still, but I find if I just add a little bit of pressure, now I don't need to add a whole lot of pressure, but if I add that little bit of pressure, it makes it more fluid for me to do this technique, right? Everyone's a little bit different, but I want you to find out what works for you. I just find if I apply upward pressure with my index finger and downward pressure with my thumb, it causes that motion, which makes it a little bit easier for me to catch the chucks. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that it's going straight over. You don't want to try to go off to the side, right? It's harder to catch this. It's significantly easier to mess it up, right? So you want to go straight one, right over the other, just practicing letting it land right into your hand and then catch it. Okay, let's get a few more of these going. And we are going to practice this for speed later on. So in order to test for your first belt, you have to be able to do 40 of these. So this is 1, 2, 3, 40 grips in under 30 seconds, all right? So that's gonna be our first goal that we're gonna be working towards, is being able to do that. It's our first ability check that we have to be able to accomplish. So I'll give a few more of these. All right, so next we're going to move to our first strike. This is going to be our first upward strike, or upward strike number 1. So upward strike number 1 looks like this. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm starting with it over one shoulder, just like this. I'm letting go of the top one. I'm bringing it out and I'm striking right up that center line, and I'm raising it up and I'm catching. Now when I'm catching this, I want to make sure that I stop the hand that's feeding it where the chuck is horizontal to the ground, right? So it's horizontal, it's not back here. See how this would be kind of perpendicular to the ground? I don't want that. I want it parallel to the ground as I'm doing this. And then this arm is out a little bit further, so I'm not quite raising that elbow all the way up. You will see some styles in nunchucks where they raise this up all the way, and that's fine. It's just not how this one is. Striking out, and I want you to try to get that full extension with the arm as you're striking out, and then catch. Now, where your hand placement is will vary, but I want you to make sure that this chuck is to the side of your shoulder, right? I don't want you to go over your shoulder. If you go directly over your shoulder, you're always gonna be hitting your back, and you're not gonna be able to catch it, right? So we need to go to the side of our shoulder, right? If I drop it down a little bit, you can see that it would be right on the side. I'm catching it up a little bit higher, but it's on that side of the shoulder, not over the shoulder. That's one of the mistakes that a lot of people make at first, is they go here and then they're just unable to catch it because it ends up hitting their lat on the back side because their shoulders won't let them do it. So raise it up and it's off to the side just a little bit. I'm trying to go right through that center line each time. And now when something like this happens and you miss it, that's fine, just grab it and go. You will see me make mistakes. I'm not perfect. Even on these very beginner techniques, I will make mistakes as well. That's fine. It's okay to make mistakes. Just make sure you keep working on it. Try to go right up that center line every time. Keep this going. Now, if this is really easy for you, start working on moving, right? You can move forward and backward. You can pivot off to the side as you do this. Again, still try to keep that straight up the center line. Don't go way off to the side out here. Up, right up that center line each time. Are you catching it with this horizontal, parallel to the ground? Hopefully. Keep that up. And Now I'm going kind of fast, not counting these out, so I just want you doing it at your own pace. If it takes you a little bit longer, that's fine. Some people take a little while to pick this up. Some people pick it up really fast. Everyone's a little bit different, and that's fine. I like to practice moving around. So one of the reasons I will do a lot of motion and footwork as I'm doing this is because when you start sparring, you're gonna need footwork, right? You can sit here and have all the fancy stuff and do all the strikes all day long, but if you can't do it while moving, well, you're probably just gonna get hit, to be honest. You need to be able to not get hit while also hitting them, all right? Good technique. You still catching it, right? Still going straight up the center line? Yeah, good. That's what I wanna hear. Oh look, I messed up. That's okay, keep it going. Remember, everybody makes mistakes. Ideally though, the more you practice, the less mistakes you do make, but it still happens. Especially when it's a little bit cold. It's a little bit cold in here. Fingers don't quite close as fast as they do when it's warm. All right, that was our, when I do that, it means I want you to say what it was. That was our upward strike number 1. Now we're gonna go to our downward strike number 1. So our number 1 downward strike is the exact same thing, but opposite of our first up. Down to the black. Ideally we catch it first time in the black, but if you have to make that adjustment, that's fine. Notice how when I catch it too, this is still horizontal to the ground. I'm not trying to catch it way back here. I'm letting it fall into my hand as I do this, okay? Now, before we actually do that, we're going to do a little bit of a drill that makes this one easier because people hit themselves in the back of the head all the time with this. It's kind of funny to me. I like to laugh about it and then teach them how to fix it. But I'm gonna teach you how to fix it first. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to pick a side. So I'm gonna use my right hand and I'm gonna put my left hand on that opposite hip. All right, so I'm reaching across my body. Now, on my side, right here, I'm going to just do this motion. And I call this a windshield wiper. Notice I'm just kind of flicking my wrist. My palm is pointed back, and then it points up, and it points down. Just like this. Practice this windshield wiper motion. This motion is important. You will need this or you're probably gonna hit yourself in the back of the head. And if you do hit yourself in the back of the head, please record it and send it to me so I can laugh. With you, of course, not at you, but with you. You know, we're all friends here. So, windshield wiper, get that motion down, pass the chucks off to the other hand, bring it across, and windshield wiper. Just like this. Right. And notice I'm holding it really close to the tricep, the backside muscle in my arm. I'm doing that windshield wiper because that's where my hand's gonna be at when I'm catching it. So I want that muscle memory there. All right, the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna start up over our shoulder, hand back to the side. Now I'm going to strike, and it's mostly down, right? So I wanna strike mostly in that center line downwards, but obviously it has to have a little bit of an angle to get off to the side. And now, once I get to this side here, I'm going to windshield wiper and reset. Striking down, windshield wiper, and reset. Strike, windshield wiper. Notice when I finish my windshield wiper, my palm of the hand that the chucks are in is pointed up to the sky. So not going here. See how the palm is pointed downwards? I want to go here and point my palm upwards as I stop. Here, up. Here, up. Here, up. Okay, now we're gonna keep staying on this one arm, and I'm gonna go here, up, and then I'm just gonna bring it back to the side. Across, and then back to the side, right? And I can add a little circle here. It's not too important. I just want you to try to get to a point where you can flow. Whether you have to make this, you can make this bigger motion here, or you can add a little circle, that's fine. The key and most important thing, I don't really care what's happening on the same side, is on the opposite side, that you're still windshield wiping. still have that palm flipping over, right? This motion here, because in a second, we're just gonna put that hand there, and well, it fell right into my hand. And that's what I want it to do. I want it to fall right into my hand. So here, windshield wiper, here, windshield wiper. And notice how I don't hit myself in the head. So I'm going here, windshield wiper, I'm just bringing this other arm around, or bring that around when it's on that same side. But I'm flicking that wrist, I'm getting that windshield wipe, and then just bringing the arm around. Windshield wipe, bring the arm around. Windshield wipe, bring the arm around. Okay, and we'll put that hand there. So now we're gonna go to the other side. We're just gonna do the first part. So hand, free hand, live hand, onto the other hip. Here, windshield wipe. And with that chuck that you're holding pointed forward, palm up to the sky. Bring it back, windshield wipe. Here, across and windshield wipe. Across and windshield wipe. Across and windshield wipe. Here, just like this. Keep this going. Now I want you to keep practicing that, right? And I'm gonna talk real quick about why we have to do that windshield wipe. Because if we just go straight down, if I'm going down at an angle on the front side, when it wraps my body, it goes up at the same but opposite angle, right? So I go down at this 45, when I wrap my body, it goes up at a 45. So I'm gonna go down at this 45 and you'll see it goes up at a 45. See, I just hit myself in the neck. A lot of people will do this and they'll pop right in the back of their head. And that's why we have to do the windshield wipe, so we get the habit of turning the wrist when it's off to the side to change the angle, because I'm here, and then when I come down, I make it so that I'm going completely straight upwards instead of continuing that downward at an angle where it comes upward at an angle on the other side. So continue that windshield wipe. And now let's go ahead and let's flow through the windshield wipe here and bring it to the side. Windshield wipe here, bring it. Windshield wipe here and bring it. Okay. Go down, I'm going at that angle, and then when I'm at the bottom part of that, I flip that over. Flip that over, keep it going. Okay. It creates this kind of a figure eight. So this would be more of a figure eight, but I want that flick at the end. It still is a figure eight, it's just not completely symmetrical, right? Flick that. And notice I'm keeping the chuck close to my body. I don't want it to go way off to that side, or else I'm not ever gonna be able to catch it. So I wanna keep it close to my body, that way I can just put my hand there and I'll catch it. All right, so now we're going to do the full downward number one strike. So I'm gonna go here and make sure that I windshield wipe at that bottom. Notice how when I end now, the chuck that I'm holding, or that was doing the strike, ends pointing straight up. And my other hand is just out there. Okay. So I get that windshield wipe, but I don't fully flip it over to this point because it gets stopped because my arm is in the way, right? My tricep, I hit my tricep, and it stops me right there, and I'm able to catch it. Again, try to have it fall right into the black. You shouldn't be moving your head away, right? I've seen people, and I've seen you mess it more. I see people and they kind of are scared, probably because they hit themselves because they didn't windshield wipe, and so they kind of move away from it or they try to dodge it. You should be able to keep your head still, and you control where the chuck goes. Right? We don't really move our body around the chucks move around our body, and we want to have that control over it. Obviously, as you're beginning, mistakes happen, and that's okay. That's why we're also using these foam chucks, because when I hit myself in the head, I said hit myself in the head, there we go, then I don't have to worry about getting hurt because it doesn't really hurt. I was very hard-headed when I first started learning nunchaku, and I learned a different system completely. And I really only liked using wooden chucks. I didn't like using foam chucks. I had foam chucks. I didn't really like using them. So I would hit myself in the head learning a lot of these techniques and get a few knots in the back of my head. Wasn't fun. I don't recommend you doing this. All right. Are you hitting yourself? Are you catching it in this proper position? Are you still flicking that wrist off to the side? Do you need to go back and practice just that motion, right? Until you get it down? If you do, that's fine. Go to what you need to do. And if this is too easy, you can practice taking a few steps. If you're still trying to figure it out, don't worry about stepping, just stay still. This is only class number 1. There will be many more classes where we will do a lot more footwork. So each time I do this though, I still want to go through that center line, ideally relatively downwards as I'm going through that center line, not down like that or sideways here, mostly downwards. It's kind of this thin X that I'll be creating. Keep it going. Make a mistake, it's fine, do it again. I think that's what happens to me the most is I hit my thumb because I don't open my hand wide enough. It doesn't quite fall into my hand and it'll hit my thumb. And that's good. Let's get a few more of these in. If you can, try to speed it up a little bit. When you speed it up, you typically make more mistakes. It's also okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to practice a combination. It's a very simple combination. It's going to use the 2 techniques that we learned today. Well, 2 strikes that we learned today. We're going to go from the same position, upward 1, and now with this top hand, downward 1, downward 1, up, up, down, ideally with a catch, down, and down. Let's practice this together. I'm going to start off nice and slow, and let's do it. Ready? Upward 1, let go of the top hand, upward 1. Let go of the bottom hand, downward 1, let go of the bottom hand, downward 1. Again, trying to catch it in that black. Up, up, down, down, 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 up, up, down, down. Keep it going. Up, down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up, down, down, up, reach, reach, down, reach, down, up and down and down, up, up, down, down. Keep practicing that a few more times. Whatever pace you need to go. You don't have to keep up with me. I'm not counting. Just doing 2 upward strikes and 2 downward strikes. Catch it in the black. Make sure the top hand has that chuck being nice and horizontal. Cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to one of the things that I talked about at the beginning. Remember that gripping exercise? Here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a timer. And we are going to do this for 3 sets of 30 seconds. Now our goal is, and my hands are kind of cold, so we'll see if I hit this or not. But our goal is to hit 40, 1, 2, 3, 40 within 30 seconds. Now, just because you hit 40 within 30 seconds does not mean stop at 40. We want to see how many we can get, because there's going to be a point where you need to hit 60 within 30 seconds. So if you can do that now, awesome, start working towards it. If you can't do that now, it's okay. I was not able to do it at first. I wasn't even able to do 40 at first, and I had already been training with nunchucks for like 8 years prior to ever even picking up a pair of these WNA style ones. It's all right, okay? So don't be hard on yourself. So I'm gonna get this timer ready. We're gonna do 30 seconds. Count them out loud. Each one I want you to say how many you got. And mark, get set, and go. As many as you can. Try to keep that pace going. If you mess up, keep it going. Just don't count the one that you messed up on. Try not to drop it. If you drop it, it really slows down your time. You can usually make a mistake and be all right, but if you drop it, I usually don't make the time when I drop it. Keep it going as fast as you can. I'm not counting what I'm at, but I want you to be counting what you're at. And that's time. Okay. Shake your hands out. Take a breath. And we're gonna do this 2 more times. Get ready. Warm your hands up if you need to, because it's cold and it's freezing outside. It's not freezing for you? Oh man, that must be nice. It's all right, it'll be warm here in like 5 months. All right, ready, set, begin. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, Ooh, I didn't make the 60. I got 57 in that 30 seconds. And I had one mistake, and that probably messed me up to where I didn't get my 60, which is what I was going for. That's okay. Were you able to beat 40? That's what I want to know. That's your goal. We're going to be training all the way up to that point. By the time we get there, you'll be able to do your 60 within 30 seconds. I guarantee it. As long as you actually train along with me and put in the effort and don't just do this once and disappear. All right, we got one more. Give yourselves a few more seconds. Shake it out if you need to. Warm those fingers up if you need to. Also, one thing about these trucks, if you just got your pair of WNA chucks, they're probably kind of stiff. They do start to soften up in the handles the more that you use them, and they become easier to catch the more that you use them, right? So you will break these trucks in. They're not going to be the same stiffness forever, I promise that. Ready? Last one. I'm not gonna count mine, I'm just gonna go this time. I still want you to count yours though. Ready? Begin. Oh, nope, stop. I messed up, wait. Ready, set, go. Okay, sorry about that. I thought I had pressed the button and my finger, just that finger didn't actually press the button. Sorry. Keep it going, keep it going. Oh, I messed up again. Oh no. Keep it going, keep it going. Time. All right, so now what I want you to do is comment down below what you got. What was your best one out of those 3? Let me know down below, because I'm curious if this is your first time doing this. I want to know what kind of the baseline is for everybody, not just for me. So please comment down below what your gripping number was for your best one out of these 3 attempts. All right, it will help me out, so please do that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to recap what we learned today. So we learned basically what WNA style is. We learned this very surface level that there's just 4 components of it, which is the kumite or sparring, our kata, our freestyle, and our jutsu, which is our self-defense. Then we learned basic stance number 1 and our attention stance. Basic stance number 2 is our open ready stance. After that, we learned our gripping, and we just practiced that. And then we did our upward strike number 1, and we did downward strike number 1. And then we put those together with 2 upward strikes and 2 downward strikes, making a combination. And after that, we did 3 sets of 30 seconds, practicing our gripping, trying to beat 40 seconds. So hopefully you enjoyed today's class. I know this is always fun for me. Nunchucks they're a blast. This is my favorite weapon. I like to actually fight with them, but also I just like to twirl them around and play and have a good time. It's really good for coordination. So I hope that you will be joining me in all of my future classes. If you are, let me know. And that, have a great day.